If you are using Pinterest for business and you aren't familiar with Pinterest Analytics, keep watching this video because I'm going to teach you how to use Pinterest Analytics to create more effective pins and how to use Pinterest to effectively market your business. Now, what is Pinterest Analytics? Pinterest Analytics is the analytics tool within the platform of Pinterest. And Pinterest makes it really easy for us creators so that we can see how our content in Pinterest is doing without having to outsource to a different app. Pinterest Analytics shows you the difference between your idea pins, your video pins, and your static pins, all within the Pinterest platform. Pinterest Analytics helps you target your ideal audience, increase your post reach, and also increase your post performance. Pinterest Analytics shows you your followers, following rate, the number of pins that you've made, how many saves you get, how many outbound clicks you get, and everything like that. So Pinterest Analytics is a great tool to use when you are creating your pins. Your Pinterest Analytics give you an easy to read breakdown of what you're pinning the most, what does the best, how many outbound clicks you get per pin, and what pins do the best versus saves, impressions, and outbound clicks. If you're wanting to use Pinterest to increase your traffic to your business, blog, or website, keep watching this video and I'm going to teach you how to use Pinterest Analytics for your Pinterest business account. Pinterest Analytics is the gold standard of what using Pinterest for business is all about. It helps you create the best content possible to target your ideal audience. So when you use Pinterest Analytics, it helps you target your ideal audience because it tells you what they are reacting to and it tells you what they are liking the most when it comes to your content. Your Pinterest Analytics and goals can be different depending on what you are targeting for your goals. So a lot of content creators will target impressions, whereas bloggers will target outbound clicks, and other people also target saves as well because saves lead to more outbound clicks and impressions. I check my Pinterest Analytics every month before creating more pins to see what did best the last month so that I can recreate more of that type of content for the month ahead. So I always use my Pinterest Analytics to see what is doing best and use it to determine what's being repinned and clicked through the most so that I can give my audience what they want. Within Pinterest Analytics, there's an overview tab. So your overview gives you your top most repinned posts, the most repinned content from your own pins, and then it also shows you the most pins that were created off of your site that were pinned by other users. The reports also give you an overall picture of how your content has done within the past 30 days, 7 days, 9 days, whatever you set your Pinterest Analytics date range to, it will show you that overview of what is doing the best across your entire account. The overview also shows you total impressions, monthly views, engagements, and also your total audience. So let's dive into what each one of these metrics is within Pinterest Analytics. So Pinterest impressions are simply thought of as views. Pinterest impressions are how many views your pin has gotten. So this is simply how many times it is shown up on screen when someone is either scrolling their home feed or scrolling search. Pinterest impressions is a great way of seeing what pins are reaching the most amount of people as possible. Keep in mind, Pinterest impressions are always going to be your highest metric. Now, this does not mean that all of these people are engaging with your posts. Your impressions simply mean that it was on their screen. So now that we know what impressions are, let's dive into what engagement is. So pin engagement is anything that has to do with someone interacting with your pin. So if someone clicks on your pin, that counts as an engagement. If someone looks at your pin deeper, scrolls down to see the entire description, clicks read more, anything having to do with that is going to be considered a Pinterest pin engagement. Engagements also are likes, saves, and shares on Pinterest. So someone can like your idea pin and that will count as an engagement, or they can share your pin, or they can save their pin to their board, which also counts towards a Pinterest engagement. Engagements are also used as a measurement to see what pins are doing the best because you want to be using your pins that are getting the most impressions and also the most engagements as well. A high engagement rate means that people are interacting with your pins, which is exactly what you want. A Pinterest close-up simply means that someone clicked on your pin to zoom in to see the full pin in and of itself. So instead of just scrolling past it, they stopped, looked at your pin, clicked it, and then it showed them your full pin, full title, and full description on their screen. I don't usually gauge my success off of Pinterest close-ups. I would rather gauge my success off of my Pinterest engagement. Now, your Pinterest total audience is going to be the metric that tells you how many people have been reached with one particular pin. Your Pinterest total audience is different from your impressions because someone can see your pin more than once, which would count towards more impressions. But Pinterest total audience tells you just how many people have either seen your pin or interacted with your pin. So that is still similar to impressions, but it shows you exactly how many people have seen your pin. Pinterest saves is just what it sounds. So Pinterest saves is when someone clicks on your pin, looks at it, and then saves it to one of their boards. So they can save it to a public board, they can save it to a private secret board. Either way, it is going to count towards a Pinterest save for you. And for me, Pinterest saves is one of the metrics that I look at when I'm deciding what content is doing the best for me, because when someone saves your pin, it gets shown to all of their audience as well, as long as it's saved to a public board. So when you get multiple saves on a pin, that's a great way for you to continue increasing your reach, because each time someone saves your pin, it goes to their entire audience as well. My best pins will have multiple saves on them as well, and then we'll have the most outbound clicks. So for me, the most saves I get is generally going to be some of my better pins. The easiest way to use Pinterest Analytics is to think of it as a guide when you are creating content on Pinterest. So depending on your niche, you're going to want to decide what your key Pinterest analytic tool that you want to be focusing on is. It may be different depending on what type of business you are, whether you're a blog, whether you're just a content creator that wants to drive impressions for brand deals. It's completely dependent on you. So those are all going to be different things that you're going to want to look for within your Pinterest Analytics. Within your Pinterest Analytics, you can also see how many pins were pinned from your website by other people. So pinned from your website means someone went to your website, was reading one of your blog posts, and saw one of your images and actually clicked on one of those images to save it from their own board. This is not saving one of your previously made pins. This is creating a whole new pin on their own Pinterest account that they clicked through from your site and created the pin. Now your name will still pop up underneath the pin since you are the content owner, as long as you have rich pins enabled. But this is a great way to measure how successful your blog is as well. If you're getting traffic from Google on your blog and people are then posting your content on Pinterest, that's a great metric to also track. Pinterest Analytics also shows you your total number of pins. So this is a great metric to track to see how many pins you're creating each month, and if creating more pins helps your content. So if you're creating more pins and all of your analytics are going up, that's a great sign. But if you're creating more pins and your analytics are going down, that means you need to take a deeper dive into your Pinterest Analytics to see what the problem is and why your target audience is not engaging with your content. Pinterest Analytics also has a board overview feature, and it shows you what your best performing boards are. Your best performing boards are determined by what boards have the pins that are getting the most impressions. So it's a combination of all of your pins on that board and all of their impressions is going to be what gives you your best boards. This best boards feature is also going to help you to see when you're really needing a pin or an ad to do well. That might be the board that you want to save it to, because that board already has a lot of great impressions. You can also export all of your Pinterest Analytics to a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet, which is really helpful for saving all of your analytics and helping you improve your stats over time. So if I were you, I would suggest saving your Pinterest Analytics every month so that you can save all of these files for years and go back to them and do calculations off of them and everything like that. Just in case something were to ever happen to your account where you can't see that far back in your analytics, you will still have those hard copies of your analytics. Now let's dive into followers on Pinterest Analytics. So it has your follower growth rate within Pinterest Analytics, which is helpful in tracking how your pins are working and if it is bringing more followers to your account. So your follower growth rate will be telling you how many followers you're getting each week, month, or day, depending on what you set your metric to. This metric is helpful in determining if your content is engaging and gets people to your account instead of just saving your pins. Pinterest Analytics will also show you your total number of followers, of course, and that is accumulated over time of all of your followers. And that is going to be both your lost followers and your gained followers. So that's going to be your total number of followers at the end of the data cycle that you choose within your Pinterest Analytics. Pinterest total followers is a great metric to track when you're also trying to get as many impressions as possible to your profile. Now, why do Pinterest Analytics matter? Pinterest Analytics help you measure the success of your work and your Pinterest marketing. By understanding Pinterest Analytics, you will be able to create better content, grow your following more, and reach your business goals on Pinterest. Pinterest Analytics is just as important as creating the content as it is to look at the content to see how your content is doing. There's no point in creating content if you're not going to create effective content. Pinterest Analytics is the most important part of using Pinterest for business. Pinterest Analytics shows users what Pinterest metrics are important and how to create the best pins possible for their total audience and growing their Pinterest presence. The more Pinterest Analytics you know, the better chance you have at using Pinterest for business effectively. If you have any more questions about Pinterest Analytics, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.